Hello and welcome, this is Jensen Vars. We're gonna play Legacy Life Among Ruins today. Starting a short adventure, or let's see how short it will be in reality. And Legacy Among Ruins is powered by the Apocalypse game, set in the far future where Earth is no longer recognizable. And we play both families and individual characters, and the game constantly zooms out and in. So it zooms in to see and play some specific character's point of view as a traditional role-playing game. Or we zoom out and play back again in the family perspective, where things are a bit happening faster at a broader scope. And it's all about interactions between those families. And in this adventure, I'm gonna play the core book's pre-written scenario. So if any of you would like to ever play this scenario, spoiler alert, because I'm gonna read through the book and the scenario itself, spoiling both myself ahead and the audience. I'm welcome to watch this video later. I'm streaming it live, so anybody is welcome to watch. I hope you have fun, maybe learn something new. I'm gonna use different oracle systems, and I'm gonna use the game unfolding machine, the plot unfolding machine, the scene unfolding machine, a bit on demand. Maybe something else will come up on the way, but usually with these three systems, I'm fine. Of course, I created them, so I understand what's in them and how they can be used. So hopefully these are not only tools or homebrews that I create for myself, but that others also like them and integrate them into their own solo systems. And here on the screen, I am showing Tabletop Simulator. It's a game on Steam. It's kind of simulates a real physical space for tabletop, which is what I like, because as you can see on my screen, I brought the core book, and I have here some cheat sheets for the GM. These are the families that are going to be in play in this setting, and here I have already loaded pictures of the essentially playbooks of the individual characters that are gonna be in game. Hi Philip, welcome, very happy to see you. What else do we have on my screen? We have a AI generated hex map, I would say, but I try to describe a little bit what kind of game I'm gonna play, and AI generated this kind of map, which is like, for me, more than enough. I'm planning on placing markers of where the characters are. And let's get a bit into the game. I hope it interests you, because the idea of today's video is to read together what is this scenario about, and as we read it, we fill in plot unfolding machine lists, because those are the ones that are gonna come in game. And if we advance fast enough, one never knows, we can even maybe get into the game a little bit. So as I was saying, Legacy Life Among the Ruins is a fantastic, I really like it, very narrative-oriented post-apocalyptic world where the characters belong to families. These families are survivors in the far future. They have different aspects, and the game itself offers different, let's say, futuristic layouts for the game. So you can have like extra rare post-apocalyptic futuristic approach to the game, or more like a primitive tribal approach to the game. So you can define what kind of technology advances you have, and it's all about this mystery in the far future. Nobody knows how the apocalypse happened, really. There's remnants of the past, and the past is not something we recognize either. It's made of ruins and lost artifacts and potentially huge and big machines that had powerful AIs that controlled resources in the land and so on. So it has this aspect of exploring an already far future and how it collapsed. So with that said, that's a bit the context. I'm not going to go through a thorough review of the game, but as we play both families, there will be a strategic part where there are surpluses and needs, like resources that families need or have, and certain traits between each other to make diplomacy. And then as we play the characters individually in zoom in mode, we have the traditional Power by the Apocalypse playbooks. Let me show you one just for the audience to follow a bit what's going on. Somewhere around, perhaps I'm gonna pin it to move a bit faster. The book is huge. It's full of examples, full of lore. I really like it. So these are the family playbooks. So essentially you have very, very interesting families with certain traditions, and everybody places landmarks that the families know about in the map. So that's why it counts on having a map or drawing one. And each family has things like a lifestyle, the resources they begin with, the assets they count on. Certain families have different focuses. But to put it in a way, this is like everything that happens in this strategy mode. And it's very interesting because, for example, here we have the enclave of the bygone lore. I think I might be losing some connection. I really hope internet is with me. And then what is in there are the individual playbooks. A little bit further down the road, which are the characters themselves. Anyways, let me take a look at my internet connection to see what is going on. All right, so I think upload rate should be going up. Sorry for some of that delay. Hi, I see 3 current viewers. Very welcome to chat and exchange. Let's catch up a little bit. I hope the upload is good again. So let's get into this scenario where we are gonna play, and let's get going. Yes, I know. Might need to review this internet setup before continuing to play on. Okay, so the scenario is called Hordes of the Endless Night. Let's read it together. I'm going to take these live streams a little bit patiently, not like the other games where I was rushing towards playing and so on. Hopefully also taking my own time and making it more enjoyable, hopefully, for the audience as well. So this chapter gives you a jumping off point for a game of Legacy, letting you try out the core game rules and a pre-generated situation before breaking open to the full suite of options available in the rest of the book. Hordes of the Endless Night, the players are survivors of a society that fell to ruin after the sun went out, and strange wraiths reached clawed hands out of the darkness. Generations down the line, communities have found protection in buzzing, dazzling lamps powered by rumbling generators, but fuel stocks are almost gone. what will the players do to find safety for their families and security for the homeland is the question we want to answer in this scenario. So essentially, and this is why I generated this image, we are living in a dark era of the far future where the sun is, let's say, extremely weak, to the point where we are almost living in an eternal night. That sets the mood to a very, very dark future. And apparently there is some sort of wraiths coming from this darkness. Maybe it's a side effect, maybe a coincidence, maybe something happened before the fall that was already related to this problem, or maybe, who knows. So let's begin adding those things to the world aspects. So let's mention that eternal darkness is a world aspect for plot unfolding machine. We're also going to add that fuel and light are scarce, and the rise of the wraiths. So 3 interesting world aspects. Are making already place in our plot unfolding machine lists. Let's continue reading together. Beware of spoilers if you're interested in this reading or playing this book, because we're gonna read it through. Hi Dennis. Welcome, so much welcome to watch this game. Yes, I think this kind of games, at least I'm very interested into self-exploration games, and with also external and impossible problems. Feel free to suggest games. I might not know all of these kind of games, but I'm really into it, like more serious mood kind of games. Great, so A Century of Darkness. Oh, you just read my mind, thank you. Banner Saga, Battlestar Galactica, Majora's Mask. Oh, I really don't know any of those. So we'll definitely check them out. Let's read the following paragraph. A Century of Darkness. I sometimes wonder what sunlight was like. My grandfather told me stories his mother had told him, how you could stand on a tall building and see the city stretching away from you and bustling with life. How you could stand in a field, and close your eyes and bask in its warmth. How every day it painted the entire sky, reds and blues and purples. But that was then, and this is now. Extremely interesting, I would say. That means there are rumors of how was it before, but it's only that. Like, nobody can imagine a sky full of colors. Now the only light we have is the light we make. Burning oil for each moment in fizzing bulb or burning light is shining, and every hour of every day they burn, because outside the light they might be lurking. The wraiths came when the sun went out, though maybe they were always waiting. Their bodies are smoke and their eyes are flames that cast no light, but their claws, those are most certainly real. Even now I can hear the whispers and song outside, but in a way I'm grateful. It's a welcome distraction from the splutters of our own dying generator. Hey, welcome Tiny Castle Designs. Yes, I know, I'm a terrible game designer. I update my games very often, but consider it an eternal beta. I think I'm approaching this final version I want to have of the 3 systems I published. And I'm trying to set them apart to what they are for. So Game Unfolding Machine, for example, I did a controversial move, which is to remove its oracles, just to leave the oracles part to Plot Unfolding Machine. And then I removed everything related to scene interaction and NPC emulation to the Scene Unfolding Machine. Yes, the stereotypes, I'm super hyped for them. Somebody in Discord just mentioned this idea of using stock characters from stereotype characters from TVs, which is okay. Some people might not like them because yes, they are too set up in a box, or they are too cliche. But the magic of stereotypes, and I hope we get to use them, is that what happens if you combine two stereotypes, then you've got very, very interesting characters. Like, I don't know, let's make a random test while we are here, because this game is going to be dark and I'm guessing it's going to be heavy on the mood. 72, we've got a gifted child, a child with extraordinary talents. That could be interesting already, like an NPC. We play this child who's special, and it can prompt so many things in our heads, and that's the beauty of it. But what happens if we say, it's also an 11, which is a maiden, a lovely woman with purity and innocence? We could combine these two things and make a story, right? It could be either the same person, like this child with special powers is also a girl with purity and innocence, or maybe her mother is pure love and that puts them in a dramatic situation. I don't know. Just like that, you can, like in 5 seconds, get an NPC and their backstories, and could be super interesting. I had a vagrant which I play in one very specific way. Then I portrayed them as a different stereotypes, and I was like, whoa. Yes, exactly. Absolutely. So looking forward to see, and the rest of it also hopefully can be combined together to make for NPC situations and social parts, which we will probably and very, very probably need in this game. Okay, let's go back to the scenario. We've got a very dark world. We've got the wraiths. They seem to be ghostly in nature. They whisper or sing, but their claws are very real, so they can also interact with the physical world. Something must change. We must make a change. I will head out into the darkness tomorrow. Friends at my side, and find a way to bring the sun back. I guess this is some sort of wishful thinking we're going to play with, like, will we ever have a world where the light is again? Where the sun is shining? That's a great question. Let's see the families. We will have 4 factions that define the society of the Endless Night. Players pick one, and the GM takes any of the remaining for your own use. That means there's no players and GM here. We will have all 4 families in action. I hope it isn't too much. 7 concurrent viewers. That's wow. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I hope you enjoy the setup of this game. Just putting things together in this fantastic legacy system. So let's read the first family that's going to be in play. The Watchfire Legion, or called the Lawgivers. Light is safety, light is truth, light is finite. To save the most people possible, for as long as possible, someone needs to enforce order. The Watchfire Legion have kept people safe for generations, building and tending the fires at the heart of each settlement. They've gained authority, judging people in the light of the fires and ensuring fuel and resources are pooled. But those at the edge of darkness mutter that the Legion is abusing their role to keep themselves safe, well-fed and comfortable. And the protagonist of this family is going to be called Akachi. The survivor is a new member of the Watchfire Legion after stumbling into the firelight a few months ago, almost dead from wounds. They haven't spoken much about how they survived this long in the darkness, but they've joined the fight against the wraiths with fierce glee. So, with that said, I think we could place the Legion somewhere. So as I understand correctly, this faction or family is military, or let's say protective in nature. They seem to keep the order. I think this order goes beyond their own rules or their own domain, but also impact the order of the general region. So we might be interested in placing them somewhere in this randomly generated map that we have. Let me look for some quick image that I could use for this settlement. I'm guessing I could use simply their icon and pull up here a figurine where we're gonna place them, this faction in the map, and where is it located. I guess if this faction is protective in nature and, let's say, militaristic, probably we'll figure it out how its playbooks look like. But I would put them somewhere relevant or somewhere meaningful geographically speaking. I guess they could control like this entrance here from the north. So this is the north, the beyond, and these families are currently protected by this domain of mountains. And in these mountains, I would place the Watchfire legions somewhere around here. And I am going to pull up their image like this. Perfect. So here we have Watchfire Legion settlement or capital. Let's call it capital. I like that better. And move on from there to the next family in play. Let's read. Okay, Akachi is the person over there, the character we will play. So at least one of the protagonists. I think I'm gonna choose a main family I'll be as a player mostly involved with. So all four families will be in play, and all four characters will be protagonists in the story, or at least very important. But I'll choose one. I'll focus on one to help myself. So the next family is called the Fungal Fellowship, Cultivators. The lack of sunlight is a problem, but life always finds a way. Descended from biologists, botanists, and farmers, this guild now has representatives in every community, tending their fungus, I don't know how to pronounce that, gardens with swarms of gene-tweaked and trained beetles. Those that survive do so thanks to their techniques, but man cannot live on fungus alone. They're constantly on the lookout for new flavors to splice in. All right, that gives me an idea for this. And we're gonna place the cultivators' main settlement somewhere in the wilds. Maybe here. Great, and let's move on to the next family. Or no, I think we haven't read it yet. Okay, the character of these cultivators, or the important character, will be Hardy. He's a scavenger with the Fellowship, specializing in biological salvage, scouring the wasteland for strange life forms that have adapted to the darkness and have useful traits that can be spliced into the Fellowship's crops. Fair enough. The next ones. The Marisol clan, merchants. In this land of eternal night, luxuries are hard to come by. That's where the Marisols come in. When they arrive at settlement, trucks covered in multicolored lights and blazing torches, they bring with them news, music, and their most prized luxury, ancient videos of the world in sunlight. Oh, like, if I put myself in that situation, right? Like, if there are videos about how great was everything in the past, it could be quite depressing, right? But somehow they might cheer up for it, or somehow bring it to life. And they seem to be travelers and merchants. Francis Marisol is the clan's current elder. They lead the family, telling them where to travel next and which resources to focus their mercantile efforts on. They're getting old though, and searching for a new leader. That's interesting. Let's place the Marisol clan somewhere in the map. If they are merchants, they might have a well-connected position. maybe somewhere around here outside the remnants of an old city. Maybe that's where they scavenge from, whatever they get, right? I think that makes a lot of sense. Still not so in the edge of the frontier. So let's place the Marisol clan here. And remember that for now. The last family, the Echoes, uplifts. As night fell, the old world's wonder fell to ruin. None felt this more keenly than the research subject of Project Midnight Eye, a covert espionage program turning nocturnal animals into intelligent assets. Abandoned in a locked-down facility with only the other subjects for company, these creatures had just enough intelligence to bootstrap the scientist's device into improving the next generation and the one after that. By the present, the Echoes are a family of hybrids living on the fringes of society, using their enhanced senses to find salvage and keep watch for threats. What are these exactly? Are they super mutants of some sort? I'm sure I understood this. But they seem to be a scientific experiment on genetics or some sort of that, and they survived and thrived despite being abandoned in a facility. The protagonist will be Anzor. The Untamed has little patience for their family's caution and fear. Part canine, part chiropteran, they are at home in the shadows and spend their night fiercely savaging the wraiths that stalk the darkness. But they bore of these basic threats they are hunting a greater challenge. Oh wow, so they seem to have things under control somehow. So let's place them somewhere a bit more remote, I would say. Perhaps somewhere here. Great, and these are the Echoes. And I think they don't have a capital, they have rather a research facility, because that's where they are from, and they might find everything they need in that location, whatever that is. So that's great, that's interesting. 6 viewers, thank you all for being here. I hope this will be of interest and fun, and enjoy. So let's get going. Next step, now we know the families. We have 4 families. We've got the Watchfire Legion. They have a capital on the north, where originally they focused on protecting the north side of this mountain region that protected centuries ago these families. Now, since the sun is dark and the dangers no longer come in physical form, things are difficult for everybody. The Marisol clan, they do have a capital as well. They seem to scavenge an old city from the before, where they get many artifacts and objects from the before and trade them with the other families. Third, we have the cultivators. If I understood correctly, they play with chemistry and fungus, and these things provide food in these times, and this happens to be a supply of food probably for all families that are organic at least and live out of normal food. And the Echoes are these mutants that were born in a research facility and survived despite being abandoned and became a strong family of mutants. They seem to be an outcome of a covert espionage program. Great. Getting started. To get playing, grab some pencils, papers, and some 6-sided dice. You'll need at least 2 dice. Yes, that we know. Drawing the map. To begin, your group makes a map of settings together that we also know. We're gonna play solo. There's no group here. We are the group, me and the audience. And let's see. Each family will mark down something in the map. That's gonna be interesting. It's like this world building is part of the game. The Watchfire Legion marks down 3 settlements around the homeland and note down a key resource each provide: fuel, medicine, or manpower. Note which one you have your headquarters in, then mark down a ring of watchfire surrounding it, including one that has just gone dark. All right, that's pretty interesting. So we've got 3 settlements around the homeland, out of which one of them will have gone dark. Fuel, medicine, or manpower. All right, let's see how can we do that. Let's keep it simple. Perhaps we can set some squares. Paint them with some other color, not so. They will be blue, and this one will represent, what was it again? I lost the page. Oh, here it is. Fuel, medicine, or manpower. So 3 of these. For fuel, could be here. Let's mark them with the same color. For medicine, we need somewhere else, maybe closer to the echoes because they are in a facility area. Perhaps somewhere here we have medicine. My memory is failing. Was it medicine? Yes, medicine. And then manpower. Manpower, no idea. Let's just make it up, and manpower should come somewhere from around. I guess it doesn't have to be far away, right? This is the manpower outpost of the Legion. So let me reread that. Mark down 3 settlements around the homeland and note down a key resource each provides. Note which one you have your headquarters in, then mark down a ring of watchfires surrounding it, including one that has just gone dark. So if I understand correctly, one of these will have gone dark. Let's make a random roll for that because I'm equally fine with either. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and let's see which outpost for the Watchfire Legion faction has gone dark, meaning probably eaten by the wraiths or somehow lost its measures. Ooh, that would be the manpower outpost. Does that make sense that the one we are starting on closer has gone dark? I don't like this much, to be honest. I'm gonna be arbitrary here and make the farthest away one, the farthest one, the medicine outpost, have gone dark, in fact. So I'm gonna ignore that dice roll because this would be part of the headquarters itself. Could even put it here. And have this one gone dark. Let's put it in black. So this is like gone. All right, let's move on to the next step. I think this is like honestly speaking, for a group game, this is fun because everybody here would be contributing to this world building stage. So making it alone, of course, it's still fun. It's world building and definitely enjoyable, but it has this interaction aspect that is part of the Power by Apocalypse games that might be missing here. Let's see how well can we survive that playing solo. Fungal fellowship. Let's see. Your family members tend mushroom groves in each settlement. One of them is suffering an outbreak of a terrible disease. Tell us what its initial symptoms are. Also mark down a ruin that scouts tell you is home to a strange new organism, and tell us what the rumors you've heard about it. Okay, so we could use some Oracle system to help myself here to generate these topics. Let's see. One of them is suffering an outbreak. So we've got a mushroom plantation in each of the settlements. That means we've got some sort of plantations. I guess, do we have to write that down? Maybe we should. Let me have this plantation with this color. Let's call. We should have get some name. The fungal mushroom groves. So these are groves. So we've got 3. We've got 1 near the capital of the Marisol's clan. We've got 1 near the cultivators. 1 near the Watchfire Legion. And I wonder how weird or eccentric are these mutants down here. Do they also eat normal food? Let's ask that to the plot unfolding machine for our first Oracle question tonight. For a deterministic answer. Oops, this is just 1. I need just 1. We've got a 3. A 3 is no, they don't eat normal food. So I'm not gonna set up a mushroom groove over their factions location. These echoes don't seem to eat typical food and might have their own way of surviving or having a nutrition. Then one of them is suffering an outbreak. So that we need to do. I'm gonna mark this still with a bluish, just darker color. So one of them is suffering an outbreak. 1, 2, 3. Let's see which ones. 1, 2. So 1, 2, 3. That would be 1, 2, 3, 4. This one is suffering an outbreak. So we're gonna call it sick. This mushrooms plantation is sick. The Watchfire Legion has now 2 problems. They've got their medicine outpost gone dark, and their food supplies gone sick. And we need to tell what are the first early symptoms of it. That's gonna be part of the game. It says, tell us what the room, tell us what's the initial symptoms. How do we come up with some interesting symptoms? Any ideas? I'm gonna go for the Grand Oracles and generate some. Probably 2 adjectives could be fine. 88 and 73. Let's see if we make something sense out of this. 88 is expanding, enlarging, growing, spreading. I'm already thinking of something that's contagious, or if it's something on the skin that's incredibly ugly and nasty. Let's keep that on. And the second roll, I forgot it. Sorry. 55. Respectful, legal, honorable, proud, loyal. All right, it's loyal and it's expanding, and those are symptoms. How do we read symptoms out of that? What I'm reading is it remains loyal to its origin. So it doesn't spread out geographically. But that we don't know much about that. So Yeah, that's hey Dennis, that's honestly kind of amazing. Oh, which part of it? I don't know. Might have lost you there. But yes, so we've got some sort of virus or growing virus. Maybe does it grow on the skin? If not, it's more like it's contagious rather. So let's go for a yes or no. Does it grow on the skin? Does it have like external side effects? I keep rolling to retain on the oracle. That's a 3, so it's no, it doesn't grow on the skin. So that means we'll go for option B, which is like it's contagious. Yeah, definitely. I like the idea of the map because we do world building as part of the game. In this aspect, like I really appreciate this game. Cool. We've got this sickness spreading over. We should write it down somewhere here in the description of this grove. Some sort of virus which is enlarging and contagious seems to emanate from the grove. No signs of its symptoms have been perceived farther away from the grove. That's all we know. Could be brainwashing if we get into some Last of Us mood. I like the idea. I guess we could, like, it's definitely a hot topic and probably we don't know much about it yet because this says early symptoms. That means initial symptoms, maybe the first reactions we're gonna see. We're gonna make that part of the game for sure, but the long-lasting effects or the consequences are open. Could be brainwashing, could be anything really. But I like that idea, yes, to keep it in mind. Let me write that down so we don't lose that idea. Brainwashing. All right, let's move on. Third setup, the echoes. Oh, I like this faction because these are like mutants doing that spread, like we're originated in this laboratory and are part of this research facility where they were built or genetically modified. I wonder whether they are remnants of humans at all or not. They live somewhere distant from the rest of the families, but they also seem to be incredibly strong and genetically enhanced to survive in this world somehow. The setup says, mark down the research facility you call home, we did, and decide its power supply. It can be nuclear, wind, or geothermal. Ooh. How can I choose? I think nuclear sounds fun. Geothermal could also be because it's close to the mountains. So I guess it's gonna be powered by seismic events or underground forces beyond our understanding. So I'm gonna write this down. Geothermally powered. Let's see what's next. How it's starting to fail. Ooh, that's not great. Also mark the position of a horde of creatures starting to encroach the homeland, far better adjusted to the darkness than humanity and grown strange in the eternal night. Interesting. So there are two problems here as well. One of the problem is that began to fail recently, and at the same time they are struggling with some horde of monsters coming from the darkness. I'm gonna paint that in red, and I'm gonna say that this region over here has been taken, or winter is coming, whatever that is. We need to figure out some creatures. Let's write it down here. horde of... Let's give it some random name. Gonna put a random letter. Gonna think about it later. Let's see what else does it say. A horde of creatures starting to encroach the homeland. What does encroach mean? That's my English failing me. Encroach meaning intrude, advance. All right, like threatening in a way, right? Okay, I'm gonna roll a random game unfolding machine creature generator property to see what do we know about these monsters. By type, by ability, by behavior. Let's see what do we know out of these three things with a d6. One, two, three, four, five, six. We know their behavior. I should add to game unfolding machine numeric titles. Anyways, let's see what do we know about their behavior. 16. They are unstable, chaotic, unpredictable, and they roam around. Ooh, that's fancy. Let's see if do we know how they look like. Let me ask the oracle, or if it's just rumors of that. So do we know? Has anyone seen this? Did they roll right? I got like 3 times. 5. Weak no. So nobody's seen them. Nobody's seen them. But they have heard rumors of it. Let's see what are the rumors, unconfirmed rumors about their type. People say they are a 4. Flesh, putrid, undead, scary, zombie, or life mimic. So whatever these things are, rumors say they are putrids. So let's call it like that. The horde of putrids. If anyone has a better name for this, I'm all ears and eyes. So these things are no, did I lost the text? Why did I break things? Anyways. Just wanted to move it. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. Great. That's what we know. There's a horde of putrids, or at least that's how people in the uplifts or the echoes call them. And they seem to be roaming this area. They seem to be unpredictable. No pattern has been seen. Maybe what we saw so far is that somebody was found dead, roaming the southern areas, and then this pattern has repeated over and over in order to confirm that there's something going on. Let's move on to the last setup stage. Marisol clan, your family is nomadic. Oh, okay, these merchants from the left side of the map are nomadic in nature. So probably they have all of these areas to explore. They have 3 cities. They roam around all cities from before the apocalypse, and they are constantly moving. Mark where they currently are. Okay, we did. Between 2 settlements. Draw safe routes between each settlement. Clear of debris and wide open so that the wraiths can't hide from your caravan's lights. On a previous journey you spotted something some way from the path. Mark it down and say the bounty you suspect it promises. All right, I like that. So first of all, they draw a route. I'm gonna place them somewhere here instead. And they draw a route between two settlements, and that's all the other two. Let me mark these in a dark purple color. So this path over here is a safe route. I very much like this setup, guys, to be honest. I like this, the way the process of this scenario is carrying me over to set up the world building for this game. It's like, it really is giving me a lot to think about, right? And I might even think in between today's setup session and the first game a lot of things. But if I am thinking about, we have mutants down here struggling with a horde of putrids and a failing power node. We've got the cultivators with taking care of a sickened brainwashing potential virus that's coming from the source of food that the Watchfire Legion get. That means diplomacy between these two factions is gonna be interesting. Like, who blames each other, right? And maybe they blame them from not taking appropriate measures and getting a lot of people sick in here. And at the same time, the Watchfire Legion has an outpost they lost communications with, where they were getting supplies of food that maybe makes this region quite dangerous. And that makes sense because the echoes are focusing their strengths to the south, where something is roaming in the dark. Before we move on, we need a location, because this Marisol clan begin with a landmark they mark as interested. We don't know much, but they've seen some lights and something called their attention in one of their troubles. Maybe I'll place it somewhere here, just because it's between all families. So let's mark that as an interesting landmark. Pretty nice flag to put around here. And we need some descriptor, like what did we see exactly? Or like what did they see from far? Let's get 2 adjectives and see what that gives us. That's 3, and 333 stands for empowered, enhanced, fortified, improved, or upgraded. And 91 stands for mechanical, complex, built, functional, or synthetic. So an enhanced robot or machine, probably some sort of huge mecha. That's what they see, they say they saw from very far away. Let me check if we've got a fancy image of what they could have seen, just to remind ourselves of what that could be. Getting some sort of gigantic titan or I think I found something could be interesting here. Like a gigantic mech. I'm gonna use this image over here and gonna place this as a figurine instead of this flag. So here we have some place of interest. Point of interest. Landmark with sites of light coming from a gigantic synthetic being. Philip, I'm reading you now. I'm reading through Electric Bastion Land and making a burrow, and it's real fun to see what kind of factions are in each burrow and how they interact. Yeah, I don't know what's Electric Bastion Land, to be honest. Is it an RPG or? Same with Mythic Bastion Land and the Omens or Myths. Also the different ruling knights in Mythic Bastion Land. Oh, tell me more. I'm not sure I'm following you. What is it about? Alright, that would be it. Each family adds a few extra details to flesh out their relationships with the other families. Take turns to answer a question from the history section of your playbook. Alright, let's get a look at the playbooks which we have here. Oh, that's too big. So I've got here the 4 playbooks that we're gonna play, and I think after checking out these families playbooks one by one, we're gonna talk a little bit in general, what are they about, and from there I'm gonna take a break, and next session we're gonna actually begin with the first scene, some first interactions, and we should try to fill in Plot Unfolding Machine before I forget what I have in mind so far. So relevant actors. We've got the main characters. We don't have any other people so far. So I'm gonna leave that open. Story troubles. We do have plenty of story troubles, to be honest. So let me recap and write them down quickly here. We have a sick fungus groove. That's one story problem. Another story trouble is the invading putrids on the south. Third problem is medicine outposts gone. What else we have? Of course, we have the wraiths roaming in the dark. And I'm gonna add an actor for this sentient synthetic being. Because they are neutrals, they are not a problem. Maybe they spawn up something, who knows? What other issue I was dealing with? Oh yeah, and the Echoes facility is also shutting down. I'll think about for the next session whether I have a plot sheet for each family, because these story troubles are each their own plot, right? But Echo's facility is failing. But I'm gonna think about whether I manage a different plot sheet for each of the families, or I just focus on one and leave the others in the background. I'm gonna think about it for the next session. And then active leads. Yes, what are the clues do we have? We have seen putrids are chaotic or unpredictable. We've got also, what other leads do we have? Oh yes, the synthetic being on the west, no, on the east. Other clues, the virus is not expanding. Yeah, I think I'll have to create one plot sheet for each faction, but that might be too much. I'm gonna think about it between sessions, because each of these factions has a lot to do, and maybe I'll play just one faction's perspective instead, and then have the rest on the background. So between this session and the next, I'm gonna think which faction to play. If anyone following this video so far has any preference of which faction you find most interested, any opinions are welcome. The Echoes, mutants dealing with the southern winter is coming scenario with a failing facility is pretty interesting. The political tension between Watchfire Legion and the cultivators because of the poisoned or sick food supplies, or the Marisol clan roaming around the land trying to connect the families with each other. I think all are interesting. I'm slightly inclined towards playing, if it's gonna be more combat oriented, probably the mutants, or I could kind of be a neutral player and play this Marisol clan of merchants and just be a viewer of the world's event. If I remember correctly, the problems of the Marisol clan is that they're losing a leader, so this could be more politically interesting. Anyways, to wrap up a little bit further, the active leads virus is not expanding, and that's all we've got so far. Let's see what would be the next steps. Let's take a quick look at the playbooks, and then in between this and the next session I'm gonna choose one playbook to play. The Watchfire Legion, they have heavy pistols, armor, they have watch officers. They got, of course, defenses and recruits, but they're lacking weaponry and transport. Good leader. They have interesting moves to deal with factions. Then we've got the Fungal Fellowship. They have culture, so they can generate surplus of resources. They've got a long history. Recycling or dispersed moves, that's very interesting as well. The Marisol clan, they've got moves related to commerce and alliances, stocks, being nomadic. Francis Marisol, she's got loyal staff and statesmen, so they're like civilized. And then the Echoes, let's see the Echoes. They've got safety and scouts, but they need morale, recruits, and fresh water. Their moves are related to animals, being scavengers, strength of the pack. They look like gnolls or some sort of wolf. And then their characters got the outsider role, and they've got keen senses and keener reflexes. So they are like, yes, beast men of some sort. So I'm not gonna make that decision now. I have a certain inclination of playing something less combat oriented. In that regard, I could play the Marisol clan, who's looking for a leader and trying to make everybody work together somehow, setting up trade routes and going here and there and traveling around. Or I could play the Watchfire Legion and play this surviving scout who's looking for a reason of why their medicine outpost is gone. That's also a bit combat oriented. Gonna think about that for the next game. Let's take a look at what's next, just to head ourselves up. Yeah, then we will be ready to play. So once we know who we are, we're gonna pick some first scene, and with the fronts, I'm gonna read quickly for the next scene the problems. The fronts, so the dangers we're facing and what these factions know so far, but it's related to what we have been reading. This clause in the darkness and the oncoming horde. This is interesting. The oncoming horde, after a century of sunless darkness and the predation of raids, The world surviving wildlife has grown strange. Those that remain have been drawn by the survivors' resources and are reaching a critical mass. An expedition outside the settlement comes. Okay, this is part of the in-game. I'm not gonna spoil myself ahead, because the reactions are things that should happen as we go. To get inspiration, we've got some interesting actors here. Maybe for the Blood Unfolding Machine actors, I'm gonna use these NPCs to have them ready in the relevant actors list. And with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching. I see 4 concurrent viewers for an hour or so of streaming. Thank you so much for following up. Dennis, Philip, thank you for the chat. Yeah, definitely. If you've got recommendations of RPGs, I'm collecting tons of them and playing so little. At least at the pace I'm playing, I am hoarding resources. But lately I've been noticing I buy too much rule books and too few scenario or adventure books. So for recommendations, I would be open to games that come with adventures and scenarios, or at least give us like this today, where the game itself gives us a scenario to play on with a very, very interesting world. And because I got a bit exhausted of homebrewing too much and making things up all the time. So this middle point is great, and I think Blood Unfolding Machine with these lists to fill in can help me a lot to structure the content we've get. With that said, thank you so much for listening and joining in, and stay tuned for the first session on the next game. Thank you for watching. This is Jensen Vars. Any opinions and feedback, super welcome. And until the next one. So, bye-bye.